This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we will be starting our next topic, that is MRP, Material Requirement Planning. Okay, so the topics that we are going to cover here, they are: we will see what is MRP, MRP overview, what are the input and output elements of MRP run. Okay, technical process of the MRP run. Okay, then we will discuss planning file entry concept. What is planning file entry and why it is used? We will see that. Then net requirement calculation. What is net requirement calculation and how it does the calculation? We will see. Then bomb explosion. Then result of MRP. And once you complete MRP, what are the results you are going to get? Then prerequisites for running MRP. So to run MRP in the system, what settings you need to do? Minimum basic settings you need to do, that we will discuss. So these are the topics we will be covering in the MRP overview. Okay. So first we'll start with MRP overview. So basically MRP is nothing but material requirement planning. Okay. The main function of MRP is to guarantee material availability. Okay. That is, it is used to procure or produce the requirement quantities on time, both for internal purposes and for sales and distribution. So basically MRP does the planning activity to ensure that your material is available all the time. Okay, so that you ensure that the materials are available for production, or the materials are available for delivering the product to the customer. Okay, so that's what, on time, both for internal purposes, means production purposes, and for the sales. So basically MRP determines what material is needed, what quantity of the material is needed, and when the material is needed. These three are determined by the MRP. This I will show it in the system. Okay. During MRP, system determines shortage of material quantities and generates procurement proposals. Okay, it generates the procurement proposals. Okay, and if any shortage is there, according to requirement, if there is any shortage, it will generate the procurement proposal. I'll show you in the system. So in the case of in-house production, the system creates planned order to plan the production quantities, and in the case of external procurement, the system creates a purchase requisition to plan external procurement quantity. So when you run MRP, if the material is a produced material, then system will generate planned order. If that material is a externally procured material, it will generate purchase requisition. Okay, so this is the one we are talking about. So already we discussed the top one. They do the forecasting. Based on the forecast, after the forecasting is completed, they will have the forecast, which is nothing but planned independent requirements. They enter into the demand management. We discussed this already. And at the same time, from sales and distribution module, you receive the sales orders, customer orders. Those are also entered into demand management. Now you know your demand. The next step is to carry out MRP, material requirement planning. Okay. So this is the one. So you have your sales orders, you have your PIRs forecast. So once this demand is known, they run MRP. When they do MRP, system normally will generate a planned order, provided if that material is a produced material, in-house production material. It generates a planned order. If that material is an externally procured material, then like raw material, packing material, which are purchased, normally system will generate purchase requisitions. Okay, purchase requisition, and in some cases, if the settings are there, it can also generate schedule lines. This is activity. Okay, after this, what they do, so in case of in-house production, like finished products and semi-finished products, it will generate planned order. This planned order later on will convert it to production order, manufacturing order, to start manufacturing. Whereas in case of externally procured materials, it will generate a purchase requisition. Then this purchase requisition is converted to purchase order. This is the purchasing activity, to purchase the metal from the suppliers. Of course, this comes under M. We will generate the PR. Thus, conversion of PR to PO and procurement, all these things comes under materials management. Okay. So basically, the point to be noted here is MRP either generates planned order or purchase requisition. Okay. In case of in-house production materials, it generates planned order. In case of externally procured metals, it generates purchase. Okay. Now the next one we'll discuss is technical process of MRP. Okay. So normally when you run MRP, system in the background will do these activities. First is net requirement calculation. Second one is lot size calculation, second step. Next to it, it determines the procurement type. Next is scheduling. And the next one is a bomb explosion. These activities will happen in the background in the sequential manner. I'll explain all these things one by one. Okay. So before when you run MRP, before system does these activities, it determines which materials to be planned in the MRP. That is through this planning file entry. Okay. So what is this planning file entry means? Whenever you run MRP, what system does is system will check whether that material have undergone any change after the previous MRP run. If that metal has undergone any change after the previous MRP run, it will be assigned with the planning file entry. Okay. According to that, those metals only it will plan in the normal MRP. Okay, I'll tell you what exactly planning file entry. Okay, so basically let's say you are running MRP. Okay, let's say you are running MRP weekly. Okay, so today you executed MRP, or let's say in your plant, let's say you have 50,000 materials overall. Totally 50,000 materials are there. Okay, so now your MRP frequency is weekly. Let's say today you executed MRP. So today what is the date? 26/11/2021. You executed MRP today. So now you planned all the 50,000 materials. Now your MRP frequency is weekly. So when you are going to do next time? So next time is 3rd of December. Next MRP date is on 3rd of December. So your next MRP is on the 3rd of December. On that day, in between this 1 week, what happens is, let's say out of this all the 50,000 materials, only 30,000 materials there is some change. 30,000 metals there is some change. Okay, changes happened. Whereas remaining 20,000 materials, no changes. No changes means no new requirement has come, no new stock not issued, stock not received. Nothing happened for this 20,000 material in between this 1 week. Now on the 3rd of December, does it make any sense to plan again all the 50,000? Not required. Why you want to plan again all the 50,000 metals every time? I want to plan only the materials which have undergone change after the previous MRP run. So in my opinion, here in this case, after my previous MRP run, 26/11/2021, only 30,000 metals undergone change. So on the 3rd of December, I will plan only 30,000. Remaining 20,000 not required because there are no changes for those materials. So now the question is how to identify these 30,000 materials. There should be some indicator in the system that these metals have undergone change after the previous MRP run. So for that, they will use planning file entry. So whenever you make any change, whenever a material undergoes a change relevant to MRP, there will be entry made. Here you see we have totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 materials. Okay, out of which only 2 materials have undergone change, which are marked with red color. So that means after the previous MRP run, these have undergone change. So when you run MRP, system will read that entries and it will plan only those 2 materials, not all. and after the MRP run, those indicators will reset. Okay, so now we will see this in the system planning file entry. Okay, okay, let me log in. Okay, so we will take the material which we are using all the time. Okay, let me take this one now. The one which we are using 4137. Okay, let's go to MD04. Okay, this is a product, this is a plant we are using. Enter. Okay, so we have all this data, right? Okay, I'll do one thing. Let me delete everything. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, let me run MRP once. Just give me one. Those orders and everything will go. Okay, now situation is fresh. You have this, you don't have any stock, no requirements, nothing. Okay, let me maintain planning strategy for this. Just give me one. I'll maintain as usual 10. Okay, save it. So now, okay, so now this is a situation. Now this is a situation. I'll do one thing. I'll run MRP one more time. Okay, I did MRP. Now this is the material situation. So now let's check the planning file entry for this material. Okay, I just executed MRP. Let's check the planning file entry for this material. Okay, so to check the planning file entry, you need to go to logistics, go to production. Okay, go to MRP. Here you see there is a folder called MRP. Open this, go to planning, open this. Here you see there is a folder planning file entry. Open this. Here display MD21. Double click. Okay, here you have. Okay, enter the material, enter the plant, enter the in our case it is finished product. Enter the plant, enter the material, enter the plant, and here you see there are some indicators: net change planning, reset procurement proposals, re-explode bomb. Okay, I'll select the first two. Just execute. So what it says, no planning file entry exists for this selection, because we executed the MRP for this one. So after that we haven't made any changes. That's why there is no planning file entry. Suppose now I will make some change for this material. Now I will make some change. What I will do, I'll enter a requirement. Okay, I'll enter only one requirement, MD61. Okay, I'm entering forecast. So let's say in the December month, I have a requirement of 500. Now save it. Then now that means we entered requirement. That means there is some change happened to this material with respect to MRP. New requirement has come. So now if you go to planning file entry, again same thing, select this one, select this two. Now try to execute. Okay, only select net change plan now. You see, now there is a indicators have come. Here you see there is a indicators. This X is the indicator. That means there is some change happened. Okay, there is some change happened. Now I'll run MRP. So this is the one now. As we made some change, the planning file entry is made. Okay, now when I run MRP, system will read that entry, and after the MRP run, those entries will get reset. I will show you. Okay, so let me run MRP. I did MRP. Okay, now in case of stock requirement, if you go to stock requirement list, as the stock is not there, as the requirement is 500, it will generate a planned order. See, it generated a planned order for 500. Now, as MRP is executed, the planning file entries will get reset. I'm again in the planning file entry screen. If you refresh, these indicators will go. These indicators will get reset. See, the indicators have been reset. Now, again, if I make some change, again the indicators will come. So when you run MRP, what system does is, system will go to each and every material. It will check whether these indicators are there or not. So if that indicators are there, then it will plan only those materials, not all the materials. So the basic purpose of this planning file entry is just to reduce the runtime of MRP. Okay. So now again, if I make some entry, I'll do one thing. I'll just create a production order manually. Okay. I'll just create a production order manually. What is our material? 4137. I'm just creating a production order. Okay, done. I'm saving it. So I created a production order. Okay, done. Now if you go to production order, if I go to stock requirement list, now you see there is a production order. Again, there is some change. Now the entries again will get reactivated. If I go to display planning file entries, refresh, see. Now again the entries have come. Now again, once you run MRP, these entries will. So basically this planning file entry is nothing but a indicator to the system that these entries are indicator to the system that after the previous MRP run, there is some change happened to the material. So system during the next MRP, it will read that entries and it will plan only those materials, not all. Okay, that is the importance of the planning file entry. Okay. So now we will continue. So now the first step is net requirement calculation. Now system knows which materials to plan. Okay. Now during the MRP, first what it does is it will do net requirement calculation. Okay. So let me show you what is net requirement calculation. So first step is step 1 when you run MRP. First step is what it does is it does net requirement plan. Okay. So let's see that. So what is net requirement planning means? Net requirement calculation, sorry, not net requirement planning, net requirement calculation. Calculation. Okay. So what it does is, so in the net requirement calculation, what system does is system will compare your existing requirements with your existing receipt elements, and if there is any shortage, it will determine the shortage. So what are your requirements? We discussed this already. Requirements, normally what are your requirements? Sales orders, which comes from sales module. Planned independent requirements, we discussed this. Forecast, nothing but forecast. Your dependent requirements for the down level materials, reservations, all these are called requirements. So system will compare these requirements with the existing receipt elements like existing stock, okay, existing purchase orders, existing planned orders, existing production orders, all those things it will check, and it will see whether is there any shortage or not. Okay, so now in our case, I'll show you this. Suppose I'll delete this planned order. Wait. Okay, now in our case, if you observe carefully, Our requirement is only one requirement, 500. Okay, requirement is 500. Requirement is 500. And already there is a production order for 100. Production order for 100. And current stock is 0. Stock is 0. So now what is a shortage now? What is a shortage now? Requirements is 500. This is the requirements and these are the receipts elements. So now what is a shortage now? Shortage is what is the shortage? 500 minus 100 plus 0. Of course, we don't have any stock. There is a stock and that also will get considered. So what is the shortage now? 400. Correct? Shortage is 400. That's what system will determine. Shortage. That is the first step in the MRP, net requirement calculation. So now you know the shortage. Okay. Now the next step is it will do the lot size procedure, lot size calculation. Step 2. Okay. Let's put like this. First is net requirement calculation. Next one is lot size calculation. Lot size calculation. Okay. So what system does is system will go to the lot sizing procedure maintained in the material master. In the material master for that material. Okay. And it will check what is a lot sizing procedure. Accordingly, it will calculate the quantity. Okay. So there are 3 lot sizing procedures: static, periodic, and optimum. We will discuss this when we go to the factors influencing the MRP. That time we will discuss. During that class, we will discuss in detail. So as of now, we will check what is a lot sizing procedure maintained. So if I go to the material MM03, if I go to the material, go to MRP 1, 2, 3, 4, that's okay. If I go to MRP1 view, what is the lot size procedure maintained? EX. EX. Okay, so EX means what? Lot for lot order quantity. EX means lot for lot order quantity. So basically what happens is it is maintained as EX. Your shortage is 400. In the first step it is determined. Shortage is 400. Lot size is EX. That means lot for lot. That means your receipt element quantity should be same as your shortage. So it determines that lot size quantity as 400. Okay. So that is a lot size calculation. Okay. We will discuss the other lot sizes, procedures and everything, how they will work when we go to that topic. Okay. Now the next step is procurement type determination. Okay. So now you know the quantity. So we are here. We are here. Net requirement calculation done. Lot size calculation done. Next is procurement type determination. Okay, next step. Procurement type determination. Okay, so procurement type determination means system will check whether that material is a produced in-house produced material or externally produced material or both, sometimes both. Okay, so what system does is next step, it will go to the material master, it will go to MRP2 view and it will check for the procurement type. So we will check in our case what is a procurement type for the material. Okay, so if you go to MRP2 view, the procurement type, what is maintained? E. E means what? In-house production. That means this material, this metal Pepsi 1 liter bottle is produced in our organization, in-house production. So what is a procurement type? E. So now it knows that it is E produced. That means it has to generate a plant order. It has to generate a plant order. Okay, done. Now the next step. Okay, all these things will happen in the background now when you run MRP. Okay, next one, it does the scheduling. Okay, so next